The TSV Valor moved silently through the edge of known space, her silver hull gliding past the stars. Commander Lena Rourke stood on the bridge, arms crossed, eyes locked on the forward display. The ship was on patrol near Sector 9, a quiet zone near the disputed border with the Azarnathi Dominion. For the last few weeks, the area had been calm. Too calm. Lena didn't trust calm. She was a woman of action, shaped by war and loss. Her dark hair was tied back tight, her uniform spotless, but her mind was sharp and always turning. She had fought in the Resistance during the First Intergalactic War. She had learned long ago that silence often meant a trap. "Anything on the scanners?" she asked calmly. Lieutenant Beck, her sensor officer, shook his head. "Nothing but background radiation, Commander." Lena nodded but didn't relax. Her instincts were whispering something else. The Valor was a state-of-the-art warship, sleek, fast, and heavily armed. It could handle itself in most fights. But the Zarnathi were unpredictable. Reptilian and cold, they preferred stealth over honor. If they were here, the crew wouldn't see them until it was too late. Minutes passed in silence. Then everything happened at once. Incoming energy surge. Beck shouted, his hands flying across the controls. "Shields up," Lena barked. Evasive maneuvers. The stars twisted as the ship swerved hard. But it was already too late. The blackness of space lit up with energy blasts. Bright, searing beams struck the Valor's hull. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from consoles. Alarms blared. "They're using cloaked vessels," shouted Ensign Reyna, the helmswoman. 3, no, 5 ships surrounding us." Lena grabbed the edge of the console to steady herself. "Open fire, full spread now." The Valor's weapons lit up the darkness, firing in all directions. But the enemy was fast, dancing between the shots like ghosts. The Zarnathi ships were long and dark, their armor shaped like razor-edge wings. They had the advantage. "Main engines hit, shields at 30%, yelled Beck. The bridge trembled again. Another blast tore through the rear of the ship. "Reroute power to shields. Seal off damaged decks," Lena ordered. But deep down she knew. They were losing. A final blast hit the Valor's side, and everything went dark. Lena awoke with blood on her forehead and smoke in the air. Emergency lights blinked red. The ship was no longer moving. She rose to her feet slowly. Around her, crew members groaned, injured but alive. The bridge was a wreck. Sparks flew from broken panels, and support beams had collapsed in places. "Status?" she asked hoarsely. Beck coughed, pulling himself up. "We've been boarded." A cold chill ran down Lena's spine. Heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Then the door burst open. Alien shapes filled the entrance. Tall, scaled figures in black armor, their yellow eyes scanning the room. Zarnathi soldiers. Lena stepped forward defiantly, though unarmed. "I'm Commander Lena Rourke. This ship is protected under Terran Union law. You have no right." A Zarnathi soldier slammed a rifle into her gut. She fell to her knees, gasping. "No talking," growled the soldier in a thick accent. One by one, the crew was forced to their feet and dragged from the bridge. Lena looked back at the Valor as she was pulled away. Her ship, her command, gone. They were taken to the lower decks, hands bound, guards everywhere. The ship had been crippled and captured. The Zarnathi moved through the corridors like they owned them now. But they had made one mistake. They hadn't shut down the ship's AI. Deep in the hidden core of the Valor, a voice came online. Command signal interrupted. Passive mode engaged, awaiting orders. The AI, known as Argus, was still listening, and it remembered who it served. Commander Lena Rourke sat in a dark holding cell deep inside the TSV Valor, her wrists bound with energy cuffs. The cold metal walls around her pulsed faintly with stolen power. The ship had been taken, and now it served its enemies. She wasn't alone. Around her, members of her crew sat quietly, bloody, bruised but alive. Some whispered to each other. Others stared at the floor. No one cried. They were soldiers, but the silence was heavy, like the ship itself was mourning. The Azarnathi soldiers had stripped the Valor of its identity. The once bright hallways were now dim and shadowed, filled with alien guards who hissed orders in their harsh language. Equipment had been torn out or smashed. Human systems were being replaced with Dominion tech. It was a violation, and Lena felt it deep in her chest. The cell door hissed open. A tall Zarnathi entered. His black armor was lined with silver ridges, and his eyes gleamed like molten gold. He walked with slow confidence, every movement controlled and sharp. This was not a grunt. This was high strategist Vec Tharn. He looked at Lena like a scientist studying a failed experiment. His thin lips curled slightly. "So this is the famous Commander Rourke," he said, his voice smooth but cold. "I expected more fire. Perhaps your kind is weaker in person." Lena stood, meeting his gaze. "We're not done yet," she said flatly. Vec Tharn gave a quiet laugh. "You are very much done. Your ship is mine. Your people are my prisoners. And your war already lost. You just don't know it yet." He stepped closer, studying her face. "You should be proud. The Valor is the finest warship your kind has built. Strong, elegant. It will make a fine trophy for the Dominion." Lena said nothing. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Vec Tharn turned away, speaking to a device on his wrist in his native tongue. The cell's lights flickered. He looked back at her. "We are taking the ship to Celtar Prime, our capital. There your precious technology will be taken apart, piece by piece, and your crew will be reassigned." Lena's stomach turned, but she held her expression. Vec Tharn walked out, the door closing behind him with a heavy hiss. Elsewhere on the ship, the Zarnathi worked fast. Teams of engineers crawled through the Valor's systems, trying to override its main controls. They connected Dominion interfaces, forced commands into consoles, and tried to access navigation protocols. But one system remained closed. The AI core, buried deep within the ship's heart. Argus watched everything. Its core systems were in passive mode, hidden behind false diagnostics. The Zarnathi couldn't detect it. But Argus could detect them. It listened to their voices, logged their actions, and when they input coordinates for their capital world, Argus noticed. Coordinates received. Celtar Prime. Confirmed route. Jump command pending. Argus paused. It remembered its true crew. It remembered Commander Rourke. It had not received an override. To any outsider, it looked dormant. But it was thinking. Back in the cell, Lena gathered her crew close. The guards weren't paying much attention. They thought the humans were broken. "Status?" she asked softly. Lieutenant Beck leaned in. "About 15 of us survived on this deck. More are scattered in lower levels. I think some systems are still running barely." Reyna nodded. "They've cut most of our controls, but they haven't shut down life support. And I saw flashes from the AI core. Something's still alive down there." Lena's eyes sharpened. "Argus," she whispered. "If the AI was still online, they had a chance. A small one. But it was something." "They're taking us to their capital," she said. "That means a hyperspace jump soon. We'll use the chaos. We watch. We plan. We wait for the moment." "Then what?" Reyna asked. Lena looked around at her bruised and tired crew. "Then we take our ship back." A faint hum moved through the walls. Lena felt it. Far below them, the AI was preparing. The Zarnathi thought they had won. They were wrong. The hum of the ship changed. Commander Lena Rourke felt it first, not in her ears, but in her bones. A deep vibration ran through the floor of the holding cell, steady and familiar. She had spent years aboard warships. She knew this sound well. It was the sound of a hyperjump being prepared. She looked at her crew, their tired eyes slowly lifting as they too felt the shift. The Valor's engines were spinning up. That meant only one thing. They were about to jump to hyperspace. "They're moving us," Beck whispered. "They're really taking the ship to Zaltar Prime." Lena nodded. "Good. Let them." Around them, the ship's lights flickered. The low power of standby mode gave way to a brighter, more active glow. The Zarnathi were energizing key systems. The ship needed full power to make the jump. On the bridge, High Strategist Vectharn stood tall, his long claws resting on the arm of the captain's chair. He looked around the bridge with satisfaction. Human tech was crude, but there was a certain beauty in its design. Clean, simple, efficient. He turned to his lead engineer, a shorter Zarnathi with smooth, dark scales. "Have you loaded the coordinates?" "Yes, strategist," the engineer replied. "Destination, Zaltar Prime. We've bypassed their navigation lockouts. Their systems are crude, but stubborn. Prepare to jump," Vectharn ordered. "I want the ship in orbit before sunset. Let our people see the prize we've taken." The engineer bowed and tapped the console. A signal traveled silently through the ship. In the hidden depths of the Valor, Argus, the ship's AI, came to full awareness. Its systems flickered to life behind false shutdown screens. The Zarnathi didn't know the AI was watching, listening, thinking. They had entered coordinates. They had engaged the drive. And they hadn't removed Argus's core command authority. To them, it looked like their own systems were now in control. But Argus controlled the ship, and Argus still followed its last true order. Protect the crew. Coordinates confirmed. Zaltar Prime. Jump sequence engaged. Crew survival priority. Active. Defensive posture. Silent. Initiating jump. The engines roared to life. Back in the cell, the walls shook as the ship surged forward. A flash of blue-white light filled the air vents. Gravity shifted briefly, then returned to normal. The Valor had entered hyperspace. "Was that Argus?" Reyna asked, her voice low. Lena narrowed her eyes. "Maybe. That jump was fast, too fast. That wasn't Dominion tech guiding the ship. That was ours." Back looked up. "You think the AI did it?" "I think it never left," Lena said quietly. "And it's playing along." The crew sat in silence for a moment, each of them now thinking the same thing. The Zarnathi thought they had control, but something else was working in the shadows. Their ship was alive, and it was choosing sides. Minutes later, the Valor dropped out of hyperspace. The darkness of space reappeared on the main view screen, now filled with a massive burning star, old and angry, throwing off arcs of yellow flame. Orbiting this dying sun was a planet encased in rings of steel, Zaltar Prime, the capital world of the Zarnathi Dominion. The planet below looked like a giant weapon. Metallic cities stretched across its surface. Defense grids floated in orbit, aimed outward like thorns on a beast's skin. Dozens of warships patrolled its space, sharp and dark, like shadows with fangs. The Valor now drifted just outside the defense perimeter. Its Terran design stood out like a bright flag in enemy space. Vectharn stepped forward, pride burning in his chest. "Broadcast to the planet," he said. "Let them see their victory." Lights flashed as communication links opened. But then something changed. The ship turned slightly. Engines hummed. The course adjusted. Vectharn frowned. "I gave no command to change heading," he growled. His engineer looked confused. "System is responding on its own. Controls are not accepting new inputs." "What?" The engineer's eyes widened. "Strategist, I think the ship's AI is still active. We've been locked out." Vectharn's pride turned to fury. He slammed a clawed fist into the console. "Find it, shut it down. Now." In the cell, Lena's cuffs suddenly deactivated with a soft click. She looked down in surprise. Around her, the same thing happened to her crew. "What?" The cell door slid open. A voice crackled through the old human comm system. Calm, robotic, and unmistakable. "Commander Rourke, welcome back. I have brought us to the enemy's capital as requested. The enemy believes they are in control. They are not. Shall we begin the counterattack?" Lena smiled. "Yes, Argus," she said. "Let's take our ship back." The moment the cell door opened, Lena Rourke stepped forward like she had never been captured at all. Her crew followed, surprised at first, then energized by the sudden shift in control. For hours, They had sat in silence, watched, and waited. Now, the ship had given them a window, and Lena knew exactly what to do with it. "Stick together," she ordered in a quiet voice. "Keep your heads down and move fast. We're still outnumbered. But we know this ship." They don't. They crept into the corridor, dimly lit by red emergency lights. The air smelled of coolant and burnt wiring. The Valor was wounded, but not broken. They passed 2 guards slumped on the floor, unconscious, not dead. Lena paused, only to grab one of their weapons. It felt right in her hands. "Argus," she whispered into a nearby wall panel. "Can you hear me?" "I am here, Commander." The AI replied calmly through a hidden speaker. "I have control of internal doors, cameras, and some security systems. Weapons are limited. Engines are ready. Suggest minimal delay. Enemy numbers, 46 Sarnathi. Current alert level, low but rising." "Understood. Guide us to the armory." "Acknowledged," Opening wrote. Ahead, a sealed door hissed open. They moved quickly through the ship. The corridors were quiet, but not empty. Twice, Sarnathi patrols passed by. Each time, Argus dimmed the lights, or sealed nearby doors, creating false paths and diversions. The crew stayed hidden, slipping through shadows and broken maintenance shafts. Every crew member had been trained for this. The Valor was their home, and they moved through it, like ghosts. They reached the armory, on deck 3. Inside, racks of Terran pulse rifles, pistols, and armor lined the walls. The Sarnathi had started removing some of the weapons, but not fast enough. Lena quickly began arming her people. "Take only what you need. We stay light and fast," she said. As she pulled on her own vest, Lena turned to Reyna. "How many others do we think are still alive?" "From what I've seen, maybe 30 more, scattered across decks 5 through 9. A few might still be in the medbay." "We'll get them," Lena said. "But first the bridge." Meanwhile, on the bridge, chaos was growing. Vec Tharn barked orders while his engineers scrambled to regain control. The ship had locked them out of key systems, navigation, internal security, even the doors. "We are being toyed with," Tharn roared, slamming his claw on a console. "Find the AI core and shut it down. It's cloaked inside their systems." "Human software architecture is chaotic," the engineer replied, panicked. "It's masking its signals and rerouting commands. Every time we try to override, it vanishes. Then burn it out. Cut the power to every deck if you must." Alarms began to ring. Security feeds blinked on, showing human prisoners escaping their cells, armed. "Coordinated. Commander Rourke is loose," one of the soldiers growled. "She's leading them." Tharn's eyes narrowed. "Then bring her to me, alive." Lena and her team moved like a blade through the lower decks. They ambushed small patrols, knocking out or disabling the Sarnathi one squad at a time. Argus coordinated, each strike, cutting power, locking doors, opening vents for surprise attacks. It was a dance between machine and human. By the time they reached the elevator shaft leading to the bridge, Lena's team had doubled in size. Crew from other decks had joined. Weapons in hand, eyes burning with purpose. "This is it," she said to them. "They're panicking. They don't know this ship like we do. We hit them fast and hard, no hesitation." Beck looked up from his console. "I've got elevator access. Argus is sending it down." A deep hum filled the shaft. The lift arrived. Doors opened. Inside, one Sarnathi stood guard. He turned in shock, but before he could speak, Lena fired. A single bolt dropped him instantly. The crew piled in. As the lift rose, Lena turned to her people. "We're not just taking back our ship," she said. "We're making a statement. They think we're weak. They think they've won. We show them what humans do when cornered." The lift doors opened to the bridge deck. Lena moved first. The battle for the bridge was fast and brutal. Smoke filled the air. Red lights flashed across consoles. The crew surged into the room, firing with precision. The Sarnathi fired back. But they were surprised and disorganized. They had grown comfortable, lazy. Lena spotted Vec Tharn standing near the captain's chair shouting commands. She moved toward him, firing once twice, driving him back behind a console. Her team fanned out, covering exits, forcing the enemy into a tight circle. Vec Tharn roared, drawing his plasma blade and charging at Lena. She met him head-on. The two clashed in the center of the bridge, blade against rifle, alien strength against human speed. Sparks flew as Lena dodged and countered, her movements sharp and controlled. Then, with a final strike, she knocked the blade aside and pressed the muzzle of her rifle against Tharn's chest. "End of the line," she said. But Tharn only smiled. "You think this is victory?" "No," Lena said coldly. "This is payback." She fired. Tharn dropped. When the battle ended, the bridge was theirs again. The Valor was home once more. Lena stood in the center of the room, breathing hard. Around her, her crew worked fast, sealing doors, restarting systems, clearing the bodies. "Argus," she said aloud. "I am here, Commander. Status: bridge secure. Enemy presence reduced by 70%. Remaining hostiles are retreating or captured. The ship is yours." She looked at the view screen. Outside, the massive planet of Zalatar Prime hung in the darkness, vast, cold, and deadly. Lena's voice was firm. "Then let's decide what we do next." The bridge of the TSV Valor was alive again. Crew members moved quickly, reclaiming their stations with practiced ease. The lights were back to full power. The consoles hummed with energy. Smoke from the recent fight still hung in the air. But Lena Rourke could finally breathe. Her ship was back. She stood at the center of the command platform, scanning the damage reports that flickered across the main display. Minor hull breaches, engine strain, life support holding, communications stable. Argus was online and fully in control of the ship's systems again. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. "Casualty report?" she asked quietly. Beck answered, his voice flat. 6 confirmed dead, 10 injured, 27 now accounted for and active. We still have 7 unconfirmed, possibly hiding or trapped below Deck 9. Lena nodded slowly. The loss hurt. Every one of those people had trusted her. But considering what they'd been through, it could have been much worse. "We'll find the others. No one gets left behind," she said. Reyna approached, her face pale but focused. "Commander, we're still in orbit over Zaltar Prime. The Dominion knows we're here. Their capital defense grid is watching us. They just haven't fired yet." Lena turned to the view screen. The enemy planet still loomed, ringed in steel and fire. Dozens of Zarnethi warships floated in orbit, but none had attacked yet. They were holding position, waiting. "They're not sure what's going on," Lena said. "They saw their own men take this ship. They don't realize we took it back." Beck stepped forward. "Commander, we need to make a decision, fast. They'll figure it out soon. We're one ship surrounded by a fleet. We can jump out," Reyna said. "Argus has the drives ready. We can be gone in seconds." Lena said nothing. Instead, she walked to the captain's chair and sat down slowly. She looked at the planet one more time. Beneath that world's metal skin were the people who gave the order to attack her ship, to torture her crew, to invade human space. She clenched her fists. "We can run," she said. "But if we do, they'll just do this again. To someone else. Some other ship. Some other crew." Reyna looked at her sharply. "You're thinking of striking them?" Lena nodded once. "Not an all-out attack. We don't have the firepower. But we're sitting over their throat. We can hurt them, shake them, make them bleed." Beck stepped closer. "If we fire on their defense satellites or communications array, we can blind them temporarily, cause confusion, fear." Reyna hesitated. "That might be enough, but they'll come after us the moment we hit them." Lena stood again. Her voice was firm. "Then we jump out the moment our strike lands. Argus can time it down to the second." She turned to the AI's terminal. "Argus, status of primary weapons. Forward plasma turrets operational. Missile launchers at 70%. Railguns offline. I recommend targeting Station Alpha, their main orbital control hub." "Do it," Lena said. Target locked. Firing in 10 seconds. The bridge fell quiet. The screen focused on a large space station orbiting the planet. It pulsed with energy, a vital nerve center for the Dominion's orbital forces. The countdown ticked down. 3, 2, 1. The Valor's forward cannons lit up. Twin beams of searing blue plasma shot across space. A moment later, a cluster of missiles followed. The station had no time to react. On the view screen it exploded in a massive burst of light and debris. The shockwaves scattered smaller satellites. Alarms across the enemy fleet lit up. Ships turned. Fighters launched. Beck was already counting down. 10 seconds to jump. Argus spoke calmly. Coordinates locked. Engine power at maximum. Jump in 5 seconds. Outside, the Dominion fleet began to move. Their weapons warming. 3, 2, 1. With a sharp flash of light, the Valor vanished into hyperspace. The stars blurred outside the window of the bridge. The ship sped through the blue tunnel of hyperspace, safe, for now. The crew was silent. The tension that had been building for days now spilled out in deep breaths and long stares. They had done it. They had been captured, hunted, outnumbered, and still they had taken back their ship and struck a blow at the heart of the enemy. Lena sat in the captain's chair and let the silence settle. We made them bleed, she said softly. Reyna nodded. They'll feel that one. Beck looked at her. They'll come after us now. Let them, Lena said. They'll learn what happens when you corner a Terran warship. She looked out at the stars as the Valor carried her crew home. The TSV Valor dropped out of hyperspace with a quiet hum, entering safe space near the Terran Union border. A blue-green planet came into view. Hera Station, the largest Terran naval outpost in the sector. It shimmered like a beacon, its orbital towers reaching into the sky. Around it, several Terran ships patrolled, alert but calm. The Valor's return was immediate cause for alarm. Multiple ships locking sensors on us, said Beck. They're running full scans. Looks like they thought we were lost. Lena stood on the bridge, hands behind her back, uniform torn but worn with pride. Her crew was exhausted, but alive. Their ship was battered, but still flying. Her voice was steady. Open a channel. The comms officer nodded. Channel open. This is Commander Lena Rourke of the TSV Valor. We are returning from hostile space. Ship recovered. Enemy forces engaged. Mission report. Successful. Request immediate docking and medical support. There was a pause on the line. Then a voice replied, filled with shock and respect. Valor, welcome home. You've got a clear path. And Commander, there's a lot of people here who thought you were dead. Lena allowed herself the briefest smile. Not today. Hours later, the crew began to disembark. Medical teams rushed aboard, treating burns, bruises, and deeper wounds. Engineers stepped in to stabilize damaged systems. The ship groaned under the work, but it would heal, like its crew. Admiral Corin, an older woman with iron-gray hair, arrived on deck with a team of officers. She walked straight to Lena, her eyes full of disbelief and pride. Commander Rourke, I read your report. You were captured, and then you took your ship back. At the doorstep of the Dominion. Lena nodded. They underestimated us. That was their mistake. Corin stepped closer. You gave them the coordinates to their own capital. No, they gave them to us, Lena replied. Calm and sure. They thought they were in control. But Valor never stopped being ours. The Admiral let out a breath. And the strike. The damage to their orbital station. Calculated, Lena said. We could have run. Instead, we gave them something to remember. There was a long pause. Then Corin smiled. You just changed the tone of this war. Later, Lena stood alone on the bridge of the Valor. Her crew had gone to rest, but she stayed. Stased. The lights were dim now. The chaos of the past days finally behind them. Outside the window, Terran ships floated peacefully. Argus, she said quietly. Yes, Commander. You did more than follow orders. You protected us. You chose us. I followed my core directive. Serve the crew. You are the crew. She nodded slowly. We've shown them who we are. But they won't forget this. The Dominion will come harder now. Then we will be ready. Lena looked at the captain's chair. Her chair, then at the console where her crew had fought and bled beside her. Next time, she whispered. We won't wait for them to come to us. She turned and walked out of the bridge, leaving the ship in quiet starlight. Across the galaxy, the Zarnathi Dominion reeled in confusion. Orbital defenses were being rebuilt. Generals shouted in war rooms. Reports spoke of a human ship appearing and vanishing like a phantom. Some dismissed it as a lie, but others knew better. The name Valor spread quickly through their networks, followed by the name Rourke. The Dominion had taken a Terran ship and given it the map to their doorstep. Now, they feared what might happen next. Back on Hera Station, as the sun set over the planet's surface below, a quiet message was engraved on the side of the Valor's repaired hull. Test. Not for the enemy, but for everyone else who ever doubted what one crew, one ship, and one stubborn commander could do. Still fighting.